both of you deploying together? Was that hard?
That was tough. You know, as you know, the news is very fast and furious. That was tough for her to take, but we knew we had to go. You know, we're both together. That she liked that, I guess. It was a fast 4 days. You never get enough done. My in-laws were out here, stayed with us. He had a whole bunch of stuff. He had to get out of his apartment and put his stuff in storage in that time frame. So the last couple of days he stayed with us, I believe, if I remember right. We hardly slept at all. Everything was just, there was too much going on. By the last day, it was, I think we're on each other's nerves. I wasn't spending enough time with her, and you know, we had to be up here. And the time of year was in January, major snowstorm when we left here, just totally crazy. We had equipment running for 4 days straight before we pulled out on Monday morning. Not enough time. What was great during our time in Fort Carson, though, my wife came down and my son. I actually had 4 visits. She came down. My son, youngest son, came down 3 times. My oldest son flew down once, and one of my brothers came twice. The one that works for Northwest. With that, that helped us save a little money on airfare. Because family got her discount. Round trip ticket was like $160. So that was pretty cheap. So one time she drove down with 3 other gals. Most of those trips it was 3 or 4 days. She'd stay and then have to go back, you know. But it was great to see him. Although it got to be a routine there in Fort Carson, because we supported the Colorado mates there. The unit, the shop there had mechanics that deployed that lost about half their workforce. So during our evaluation phase, we got stuck on an exercise working in their facility, and they liked us so well they wanted us to stay on board. In fact, when we were departing or getting ready to leave, about half of them that were still working there come and sent us off, you know. And when we come back, we went and visited them, and that was great. They moved into a newer facility. Their working conditions were pretty tough before that, but.
Back up a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
You've been out of the Navy for those, was it 5 years? Why? What made you think? What did you do in the meantime, and why and when did you decide to join the Guard?
In between that time, I got into. My intentions were going to go back to school. I didn't make it that far. I started working construction, and my idea was to save enough money and to also use the GI Bill to go back to school. When I started work construction, and you get into a routine. I was making good money. I was working construction on the Iron Range, on taconite plants at that time. The money was very good, and probably in the fall of 1974, I met my wife. She lived in Brainerd, although I knew her before that when I was still in high school, because she was friends with the guys that I hung around with. And in fact, my best man married a gal that she went to school with, and we were very good friends. I got to know her very well. We kind of off and on for about a year, and then we got married in September of 1975. And I was still working construction at that time. Up in the Iron Range, we moved around various places, just living temporarily, renting places. Wasn't sure. She was trying to finish her schooling at Brainerd Junior College. She's been working for the highway department for a while. Things started slowing down probably in, spring of 77. In the winter of actually 76, 77, I was on unemployment. Wasn't looking good. For construction was slow. We had a baby on the way, of course, at that time. So I knew I had to do something else. North Dakota was looking inviting. Things were going big out in western North Dakota, Hayes and Beulah area, power plant construction. So during that time period when I got out of the Navy, after I got out, I got in what's called the Operating Engineers Local 49, started running heavy equipment, and we decided I'd just go out in North Dakota and check out work conditions out there. Well, when I got on out there, she stayed back where we lived, raising our son, the oldest right now. And probably, this was in April, I was out there till approximately September, working construction on the power plant at Beulah. And about that time, I decided I had to move to North Dakota permanently, because things were so much better, economy. Like I say, I got into just a style of life. I was making good money. Actually, I accrued some debt from my in-laws, so my goal was to pay them off. I started working long hours due to the demand of the job. We bought a trailer house out there, lived in that for approximately 3 years. At the end of that, approximately end of that 3-year period, construction was starting to slow down a little bit. The plant was in the process of being completion there at Beulah, and it was a mine mouth, what I call mine mouth fed plant. The coal came right out conveyor, right from the mine, right to the plant. In the course of the time we spent out there, got to know a lot of people. I was in a group of guys playing cards once a month, and some of these guys were working in the plant or in the mine itself. And that's actually how I got into the Guard. Is one of my friend's brother was a recruiter, and he talked me into joining the Guard. I could come back in as the rank I got out of the Navy, and a little extra money. So in February of '79, I decided to join the Guard, and on a try-one basis, try 1 year at a time. That went on for a few years till the point they told me that you've got to enlist for longer. But I started in Hazen in February '79 as a 12 Bravo. My first platoon leader was, now I think he still is, Major General Dennis Jacobson. He was a second lieutenant then. My first platoon sergeant was Roger Markovic. That's Scott Markovic's dad. That same year, in I think it was either May or June, I got the opportunity to go to the old BNOC course at Camp Grafton. Prior to that, I went to a weekend event they called PNOC. It was just like what they call, I think it's warrior leadership course, what they call nowadays. Okay. And that was just a weekend event. And then the following month, I was still working construction. I had to really talk my contractor and let me go for the 2 weeks. They did support that, and I had a job when I came back. I went to basic NGO course, and by November, December of '79, I was promoted to E5. Shortly after that following spring, I made Staff Sergeant, E6. There was a variety of people coming and going in the unit, so the opportunity for advancement was very good. I stayed in the Hazen unit till probably, I think it was 84. That's when, somewhere in that time frame, they were looking at reorganizing, or the 142nd was coming in. They were doing some reorganizing in units in western North Dakota. They moved Company A to Washburn, North Dakota. Then I switched over from being a combat engineer to a mechanic. I was working in the coal mine at the time for Knife River Coal, which I was hired back in '81. I came on board there as a laborer. Everybody gets hired, unless you get hired as an electrician or some skilled level other than that. You bid positions. I bid several. Some I got, some I didn't. I worked as a scraper operator for a year, though that was physically hard on me. I had back issues. I had to get off of that. So I bid another position as what they call a mechanic's helper. I got in that position last 3 years. Only you do the same thing they do. They just a classification they use. You get a little less in pay than the actual mechanic, but you do the same thing they do. I stayed in that position. That gave me the opportunity to actually, due to civilian acquired skills, get in the maintenance company in Washburn. I switched my MOS. Probably in April, or the first part of that year of '86, things were slowing down in the coal mine. They were losing contracts to the sugar beet industry in eastern North Dakota and western Minnesota due to the quality of coal that they were producing. Too much waste. They had laid off a few people. In fact, they went down to almost half their workforce by the time I was laid off in the fall or actually the fall, I should say, December. We got a 30-day notice that 14 of us were getting the axe. A few weeks before that, my folks perished in their house, burned to the ground back in central Minnesota. A lot of my Navy artifacts or things, that memorabilia went with it. So that's why I say that's all I have left. Quite a few pictures I had. So it was kind of a tough year for me. Here I had a wife and 3 kids to take care of. What am I going to do, you know? Well, I took a withdrawal from operating engineers at the time I got on with Knife River Coal. And I kept my card. It was a smart thing because I could just renew it and get back on construction. If I didn't get this job, I applied for full-time, which started in Nhut, what we call FMS1 now. And I applied for the position. I drilled that weekend, the same day I got the notice layoff. And I went over to the Armory in Hayes, and I was talking to the unit administrator, I think they called him at that time. And there was a job posting on the wall. So I looked at that and he told me, you should apply for that. Well, I said, well, I'll grab it. You know, he gave me a copy, and I started filling it out. And there's 2 things I couldn't answer, so I brought back in that following Tuesday, and we completed, and I got it in the mail by the next day. Well, the unit, or the battalion motor sergeant was the shop supervisor up there at that time, Earl Snyder. And I called him several times during the course of that month, see what was going on. He had a few more interviews to do. So he hadn't decided anything. Well, then he called me up, but it was probably 2 weeks or so after I applied, I wanted to do an interview. So I took time off from the mine and took a whole day, actually. Went down to Bismarck to check on work out of the Union Hall. see what's going on. Minneapolis was probably the best choice, which I really didn't want to do. Then I was done down there. I went to Washburn, changed into uniform, and went up to Minot for the interview and talked to him for a couple hours, went home, and my wife wanted an answer right away, you know, hey, you got the job. Well, it's not that easy, you know. And I sat and waited that out. Got laid off second week, or start of this, actually the end of the first week of January, on a Friday. That following Monday, I went to a job service in Beulah and applied for unemployment. Ran into quite a few people that I got laid off with. And when we were done there, we spent the rest of the afternoon in the main bar in Beulah, which my wife wasn't too happy when I got home. But I got up the next morning to take my oldest kid to school. He was the only one in school at the time. And I got a phone call from Earl, wanted to know when I wanted to come to work. That was great. My wife was so thrilled, because that came with the opportunity to move here. It was a PCS move. I spent 6 months up in Minot working there at that shop. And Earl wanted me to stay there. They wanted a technician supporting the Washburn unit, and that was where I was at every drill weekend anyway. But I wanted to move to Fargo because I'm from Minnesota, as I previously stated. And we left there in August. Prior to that, I came here for a house hunting trip, which it was kind of a 3 or 4 day fast event. We found a place we bought temporarily, kept that for a couple of years and moved on. Moved over to West Fargo. Actually, I was living on the Minnesota side for about 3 years, just across the river here in Brentwood Acres, they call it, and got out of that house after the city decided, or that tried to annex, and we wanted out of there. Found a place in West Fargo, and that just our to liking, and moved there. Let's see.
So does it been like having that full-time job now all these years?
It's the end. It seems like I look back at it when I first started, and I said, man, all these guys, back then, people, they were retiring. These guys are retiring, a lot of them around. Here now it's my turn. And I said, where all them years go to? I think about it sometimes. But, there's always something else to do out there. Actually, I have a job already lined up, yeah. My neighbor approached me if I had any interest in driving a truck for him. And I said, well, he's actually hit me up about 3 times already in the last year. He wants to know when I'm done. But, and I'll try that. I'll check that out. But when I look back at it, it was a great experience. It's been, I started out with 6 of us there. Right now there's only 4 of us left of the original 6. And for the most part we get along. We do have that generation gap like every facility has nowadays anyway. You do have issues, but for the most part it's great. Work conditions are good, fantastic. Every day is different. I enjoy working there. Some jobs aren't as good as others, but it all pays the same in the end anyway.
What if when you joined the Navy, somebody had told you that you'd be wearing the uniform yet when you were 59, almost 60? What would you have said to them then?
I told them they're nuts. And when I step back on a little bit on that, the reason I'm thinking of this is drugs are very prevalent in the Navy, and my whole tour, and I wanted to escape from that lifestyle of around you all the time, and yet I just wanted to get away from it. It was the end of the Vietnam War, or getting close to that, and I didn't want anything to do with it. Grow my hair long, have a beard. That was there. I come home, my friends were still hanging around. A couple of my friends I went to school with got out of the Army, and they were working construction too, and they come home on weekends and hang around and party and all that stuff. But that was going nowhere too, so you had to get away from that too. But it's been good. It's been fantastic. I look back at it now as some things I'd done a little different in my career. I made a few mistakes, but for the most part, it's been great.
Any specific thoughts on wearing the uniform all those years? Patriotism or fighting for your country or having a son in the military as well?
Well, I didn't. My oldest son tried to get in the Army. He went to basic and made it through about 7 weeks. He had some hip problems, so they sent him home. And Josh, he's always been crazy about military. Anyway, I know a couple times I went to where did we go? In '90, I went to Jamaica with Company B 142nd. Probably the best ODT tour I've ever had for 3 weeks. It's because it was just a good time. But when I came home, flew back in February, and it was cold here. Holy mackerel, it was below zero. We had to get off the plane, disembark off them, step down back into the terminal, and or on the buses, I should say, and then over to the old Hector Armory here. I come there with my wife and my kids there, and he had on kids' BDUs, everything except he had no boots, but he had the hat and all that stuff, and he was there to greet me. So I knew he was ate up. But then he got up there a few times. I'd work on some projects up there and after hours, and he was always interested in all the stuff that went on in the Guard and all that stuff. So out of school, he didn't. Once he graduated, he had other ideas of in life. He got to working with my brother, who was a car dealer in Monticello, and that didn't last for very long. Lasted for the summer, pretty much. And then he worked at a auto auction place down North Minneapolis for a while. And I don't know if what happened there totally, or if he got sick of that and decided he wanted to move home. I got him interested back in the Guard again. And he was down there for probably a year, thereabouts, and he decided to join the Guard. I didn't realize he'd stay in that long at that time. I thought he'd just try it for a while, and when he's done, at the end of his enlistment, he'd get out. But he stuck it out this long, made the rank of staff sergeant, and I think he enjoys it very much. Right now he's in Delta Battery, the ADA, and as a recovery sergeant. That's what he does for a living. He's the manager for Northland Towing, Harry's Towing in Fargo here. So,
Must be pretty proud.
yes, I am very proud of him. Yes.
Any names stand out from your career?
The people that influenced my career, I would say my first shop supervisor. Some of the first guys I worked with, Nicky Market up in Nhut. A guy by the name of Myron Lottie. People you run across to, let me think here.
Any names from Iraq?
People I work with over there.
Yeah,
I worked with my chief warrant officer, CW4 Pat Riley, who is retired. He's a school teacher here in Fargo, or retired school teacher now, I believe. He was, for the most part, my mentor. he helped me through that. He was kind of the go-between between a lot of things for me. Some of the influence on my career as to what I was going to do, and when some days when I was down, he'd talk to me and help me out. He probably helped me make it through it the year I was there. Pressures I had on things to happen. When I look back at things going on at home and things I had to deal with over there on a daily basis were pretty tough some days, you know. So it was hard to survive it without discussing things that we had a problem with, you know, during that tour.
Which deployment was harder, Vietnam or Iraq?
I think it was Iraq because of the fact that although I had family at home, you know, I look back at the time I was gone in the Navy, although there was my first cruise, I got real homesick, I think, first couple times. I'd go back and stand on the very back of the ship and look out as you know, the waves going by or the wake from the carrier, and wish I was home, you know. But I didn't have baggage, if you want to call it that. You know, I didn't have a wife and kids and people I wanted to see. And I think the fact that you know, the living conditions over there and just the daily grind of things and the atmosphere and some of the fears that we went through, what was going on, that was tough, you know. When I was in Vietnam, I didn't have the knowledge of everything that's going on around me, you know, like we did when we were over there. We couldn't leave the post all the time. It was very dangerous. I don't think I was aware of that at that time. I didn't put that on my mind. You know, I was just do the job and you know, leave, basically. That was it. Iraq was, you know, had more importance there. You know, things were, you know, just you're cautious or conscious or whatever you want to call it, of everything that's going on around you. You want to over in Vietnam, it was, you know, it's just like getting up every day. You know, it's just, you know, fears aren't there. You know, the fear wasn't there. It should have been, but it wasn't.
I think that comes with age and.
I believe so. You know, I believe so. I was probably even when I deployed to Iraq, you know, I was in my early 50s then, and I wasn't the oldest guy there, but I was close in that group.